And how old were you when you were interested in horses? What made you decide this is what I want to do? Besides the love, there had to be, that's a big change from being a criminal attorney to coaching, about horses and stuff. And would you explain to a lot of the audience out there a little bit easier and more layman terms what you actually do so they can understand?
Sure. So the first is I was always attracted to horses, and I was raised in a city. However, my mom was a farm girl, if you will, and so her family members were farmers. And so when we got to go spend time with her cousins, I always wanted to be with the horses and loved the horses. And every chance I got, I would ride them or be around them. And the older I got, the farther away I got from them, yet I was always drawn to them. And right before I went to law school, I was in a serious horse riding accident, and I ended up breaking my pelvis and shattering my arm and had 3 operations and spent 6 months in a wheelchair. And for a long time, I physically could not be in their presence because every time I got close to them, I would have, this reaction. I'd start hyperventilating because I was so scared of them. So it took me a long time to get back to where I could ride and was comfortable around them again. However, I now know, based on what I have been taught and learned through my training as a Gestalt coach, how I created that situation as a result of what was going on with me at that moment in time before I got on the back of the horse. However, I always knew that I wanted to be around them. Even after that accident, I was still drawn to them and still wanted to be with them. And so during this process, before I became physically ill, while I was in the process of getting sicker, I had done some personal work with someone else who had horses, and I was very intrigued about the answers that I was receiving while I was with the horses. And so I thought, this is interesting. So, and I had already been a coach for, the last 8 years and loved coaching people. And obviously as a lawyer, I think we do quite a bit of coaching with our clients, right? We talk them off the cliff. We, work with them for months, sometimes years before a case goes to trial. We get them through the process. So you're a therapist / coach, I think, in that capacity, as well as putting your lawyer hat on and going to court. And so I started looking at programs that took those two things and combined them. And there's different modalities out there. There's EGALA, there's PATH, there's Linda Kohana's training program. There's numerous people. And it's getting more and more popular nowadays. Before, when you'd say, you worked with horses, people would like, oh, what's that? Now when I say I work with horses, it's very common. People really know about that, have known somebody that does it, have read a book, heard about it, things of that nature. So I decided that I was going to do Melissa's program, Touched by a Horse. I felt like her mentality really came from a place of abundance versus a place of scarcity, and I liked her program. She was able to give you basically a turnkey business by the time you were done. And so I focused on getting certified through her program and, now do what I do with the horses as much as I can. Wow. Now, Michael, you have any questions about this? You're quiet.
Yes. Well, initially, I would like to find out who Melissa is and, basically what kind of approach she takes to training as your mentor.
Sure. So Melissa is actually located here in Colorado. She was originally in the Niwot Boulder area, and now she has a ranch down in the Elizabeth area, which is south of Denver by Castle Rock. And so how it started for her was she's been an equestrian all her life, as well as she was a psychotherapist for about 35 years. And she had a ranch in Arizona and a ranch here in Colorado. And when she would leave her ranch in Arizona, her clients didn't want to be away from her for months at a time when she would leave Arizona to come to Colorado to escape the heat. So they would come to Colorado and spend, 3 or 4 days with her working intensively and then go back to Arizona. And what she noticed was when they were on break and they could go spend time with the horses, the attraction they had to the horses, as well as the response the clients would receive from the horses while they were on their downtime. And so, again, because she had been a psychotherapist, she started watching, the reactions that people were having as well as the horse, and decided she was going to, create this program. And she did that about in 1985. So it's been around for a little while. However, at that point in time, in like 1985, it wasn't that popular. And so Gestalt, and this goes back to your question that I didn't completely answer, is Gestalt is a therapy technique that is used by therapists. However, you do not have to be a therapist to be trained in the Gestalt work. And Gestalt is a German word that means wholeness. So basically what the courses and I do, because we're a partner, we're a team, is typically a client would call me, and they may call me and say, look, I'm having issues with my husband, or I'm having issues with, a coworker, my boss, my child, whatever. Or they may just say, you know what, I don't know what's going on, but I want to come and see you. This sounds really interesting. Okay, perfect. So the first thing that I do with my clients when they come and see me is just to get them grounded and in the present moment. Because like I said earlier, we're so fast-paced that we don't even pay any attention to what's really going on in our lives. We're on our cell phone, we're driving in traffic, we're on autopilot most of the day. Most people aren't even paying attention to actually breathing. Mm-hmm. We'd actually fall over if our body didn't breathe on our own because we're on such autopilot. And so then it's just a matter of checking in and seeing what's bubbling up to the surface, because what they called for and what they made the appointment for more than likely is not even going to come up in that moment. That's what caused them to be there. However, what's going on now in the moment is more than likely completely different. And so it's just focusing on what is coming up in that moment. And then we get to opening that wound and getting to the root of the issue, the crux of the problem, and then working through that through the Gestalt technique, and then closing that door. It's healed. And that's the difference between talk therapy and the Gestalt work. Talk therapy works great for some people. However, the Gestalt work is really ripping the Band-Aid off, getting in and digging around in the wound, getting to the root of it, pulling the root out, and then closing it up, and it's now been completely healed. Now, is it that you may never have to necessarily work on that at a different capacity? Absolutely not. My philosophy is that as long as you are still on this earth and you are still breathing, we all have work to do. And I love personal growth work. You can take a layer of the onion back. However, there's still another layer, right? You're never the person you were 5 minutes ago or 5 minutes before that, because we're living, breathing, developing human beings. And I firmly believe that you're either living or dying. And whether you're here on this earth living, if you're not living, you're dying. And so it's a waste of your time to be here. So, why would you not want to continue to grow and to develop? Now, change is not always easy, and we stay in a place because the change is more fearful than the consistency, right? And I use this example a lot of times with women who stay in domestic violence situations. It's a guarantee that he's going to come home, he's going to drink 2 beers, he's going to fly off the handle, he's going to smack me, he's going to pass out, he's going to go to bed, and he's going to go to work, and tomorrow we're going to do the same dance all over again. However, that is safer than the fear of me leaving and not knowing if I'm going to have a roof over my head, how I'm going to pay the bills. He's got control of the checkbooks. I don't know how I can leave. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. So the fear of the unknown is more than the fear of him coming home, having a couple beers, and smacking me around. And until someone can get over the fear of the unknown, they will stay no matter how bad it is, because it's a constant. It's a guarantee. Where the other side is the unknown. And so that is more scary. And until they're sick of doing the dance, and the dance is worse than the fear, they're going to stay. So, what I do and what the horses help me with the client is for them to discover what is ultimately going on, get to that problem, heal it, and move on.
Wow. Have you ever been approached from someone who believes that they have past life issues that could be addressed with your Gestalt therapy?
I believe in past lives. I am not particularly versed in that type of stuff, and I've not necessarily had a client say this is something from a past life issue. My experience has always been, no matter what your family life is, even if it was a Leave It to Beaver situation, we all have trauma. I grew up in what was so-called normal family. My parents weren't alcoholics. My parents didn't cheat. My parents, went to work and raised a family and weren't abusive and things of that nature, yet I still have trauma. My dad died when I was 17. I can remember my boyfriend, telling me I was fat and ugly and was never going to get anybody better than him. I remember my 3rd grade teacher who told me I wasn't good at math. That's one of the reasons I went to law school instead of med school, because when I knew how much math I had to do to get into med school, I said, hell no. There ain't no way I'm going to be able to do that. So let me stick with law school. I can argue I'm good at that. But again, I still have baggage that I bring into my relationships, and that's what I tell my couples is no matter what happens, you're the common denominator. And if you do not heal what's going on with you in this relationship, because you were attracted to this person for a reason, and if we don't heal what is going on, you're going to be attracted to the same person. They're going to be taller, skinnier, shorter, fatter, blonder hair, brown hair, red hair, whatever. However, you're going to be in another lawyer's office doing the same gig 3 years, 5 years from now if we don't fix what's going on here.
Boy, I'm going to say something. My first marriage lasted 2.5 years. Then about a year later, married again. That marriage lasted about a month and a half. We got a divorce, got back together, married, and the next day I ran to my attorney and said, no, get it annulled fast as you can. And then I actually chose a woman. My first wife was a former Miss Washington. Okay. That's the type of woman that's when I was good looking and not fat, and I had a career in radio and girls liked me. So I went after, the ones that, I hate to say it, had big breasts, wealthy family, very good looking. And I went after that a couple times. And you know what? The next time around, I've been now married going on 41 years. I married somebody 100% opposite of me, totally opposite. We're both domineering.